Hello, I'm Chylli from channel Chylli, also known as Try, and we are back with Saya and Uda. Last time we got our first ending, and this time we're gonna continue where we left off. I think... Okay, we heard this last time, so we're just gonna continue from here. After we finish our labors and get into bed, I show Saya what I found in Ogai's house.
この一枚見覚えがあるよ。確かにさやの知ってる場所。
The photograph that Saya selected is one with her Chylli prefecture address on the back.
これは家だよね。それと木と山。
そう。文則すごいね。写真も見られるようになった？
まあね。
At the outset of my ordeal, I had to depend entirely on my sense of distance to decipher what I saw. The houses in front of me, the mountains far behind them, the clouds high above. Only distance and scale told me what they were. Photographs and other flat images used to be nearly impossible to make out. Recently, however, I've gotten better at understanding what things are by their shape. I know what the mountains and sky look like, for instance, and how to tell them apart from buildings. Each of the three pictures shows a similar scene, a lone house in the middle of a thick forest.
パパはね、別荘だって言ってた。ここにいれば誰にも見つからないって。
Judging by the address on the back of each photo, they probably are excellent places to hide from prying eyes, but why three? The dates are pretty old, and it seems odd that they were all taken within a few days of each other. Maybe he was scouting properties, looking for the perfect location for his hideaway. Saya recognizes only one of the houses. That must be the one Ogai picked. Checking the location on a road map of the Kanto area, I find that it's about 3 hours out of Tokyo by car.
お父さんがここにいる可能性は？
電話してみたけど出なかったよ。多分いないと思う。
でも最近に立ち寄ったことはあるかもしれないよね。
The way I see it, our only hope of finding Ogai is to follow whatever lead we have, no matter how small. The probability that his hideout will yield useful information may be low, but it's not zero.
明日にでも行ってみようかな、ここ。
Saya pouts. I wasn't expecting her to object.
でもここ遠いんでしょ？
行って調べて帰ってきても、まあ半日もあれば十分さ。
その間、さやはお留守番なの？
So that's what it is. Slightly exacerbated, I smile and rub Saya's head.
少しは我慢してくれよ。な？そやだってお父さんのこと見つけたいんだろ？
After a brief silence, during which her expression is hard to decipher, Saya looks up at me and says,
ねえ、ふみのり。パパのことはもういいよ。
That's the last thing I expected her to say.
いいって、でも君のお父さんだろ？心配じゃないのか？
いいの。私にはもうふみのりがいるし。
Saya says, coming closer to feel my warmth.
パパって言っても本当の意味でのお父さんっていうわけじゃないの。さやのことを教育してくれたし、ある意味では愛してくれてたのかもしれないけど、でもふみのりの方が優しくてあったかい。
Saya's words make me happy, but I also hear the loneliness in them.
本当に 僕だけでもいいのか？
うん。文則は嫌？さやと二人っきりじゃ。
いや、でも、そうだな。やっぱり、鴎外教授には会ってみたい。
Having finally figured out how to explain my feelings, I continue.
さやのことをもっとよく知りたいから、僕以外にさやのことを知ってる人がいるなら、ぜひ会ってみたい。
そうなんだ。
Saya doesn't seem upset, but she does tilt her head quizzically as though my thoughts are strange to her.
それに、やっぱり明日、この場所に行ってみよう。
Another plan has started to form in my head, one separate from the search for Dr. Ogai. If I find the doctor there, great. If I don't, well, I think I can find another use for his mountain retreat.
さや、寂しいかもしれないけど、ちょっと我慢して待っててくれ。
うん。
He nods, then looks questioningly into my eyes.
やっぱり文則にはさ、家族とか友達とかもっともっと大勢いた方がいいのかな。
そりゃ、その方が楽しいだろうね。
Hearing that Saya will start sulking, I hurriedly add,
でも勘違いしないでくれよ。たとえそういう人たちに囲まれて暮らしてたとしても、さやだけは僕にとって特別な一人なんだからね。
うん。ありがとう。
Giggling, Saya rubs her cheek against mine.
さやも文則が喜びそうなこと、文則のためだけに頑張るからね。
Today, all of Koji's classes were in the morning. On his way to meet Yoh for lunch, after his final lecture, Koji suddenly gets a call in the middle of the hallway. Without thinking, he reaches to his belt for his new camera phone, but curses when he realizes that the ringtone is coming from the old cell phone in his bag. He hasn't transferred his contacts list yet, and calls still come to his old phone from people who don't know his new number. When he finally fishes the phone from his bag, the name he sees on the display sends a chill down his spine. Fuminori. Why now? What does he want? It's hard to be happy about a call from Fuminori after the incident at the Ogai house.
はい。
いや、コージ。今日はもう講義はないよな。
ああ。
Of course, Fuminori would know that Koji is free on Thursday afternoons.
相談がある。駐車場に来てくれないか？
今すぐにか？
あ、待ってる。
Fuminori hangs up without another word. What's gone into him? What does he want? Koji wonders as he sticks the phone back into his jacket pocket. This sudden change is disturbing after a week of Fuminori avoiding both Koji and Yoh. Maybe he's finally ready to talk, in which case Koji should probably consider this a good thing. However, you can't shake the feeling that something is wrong.
待たせたか？
いいや。
In the parking lot, Koji finds Fuminori leaning against the fender of Koji's car. The last time they met was in the darkness of an abandoned house. This is the first time in over a week that they've spoken face to face in the light. Perhaps that is why Koji senses something strange in Fuminori's expression. He's not sure what exactly, but something has changed.
前にも話したと思うが、僕は今、 オーガイっていう人についていろいろと調べなきゃならない。
そうらしいな。
それがな、ここに来ていろいろと難しくなってきたんだ。やっぱり僕一人じゃ無理かもなって。
Fuminori seems more relaxed than before. He used to be tense all the time, like he was terrified of something. But now his expression is calm. He's even wearing what resembles a sheepish grin.
で、お前にも手伝ってほしいんだ、コウジ。
Nevertheless, some instinct is telling Koji that Fuminori's changes are not for the better.
一体どういう風の吹き回しだ？
Koji asks, keeping his expression neutral to conceal his suspicion.
だって、お前も関心あるんだろ、コウジ。
Fuminori responds coolly. His smile, unreadable as ever, offers no glimpse of his true motives.
お前も僕の後からオーガイ教授の家をいろいろと探し回ってたじゃないか。僕とお前とでバラバラに探すなんて二度手間だよ。どうせなら協力してもっと効率的にやろう。
Why? Why does he sense malice? Thick and viscous, lurking behind Fuminori's smile.
ともかく今日は足が必要なんだ。車を出してくれないか。
まあ、構わんが。
Fuminori's car was destroyed in the accident, so Koji isn't surprised that he needs a lift. Koji unlocks his car and gestures for Fuminori to take the passenger seat. Then he gets behind the wheel and starts the engine.
で、どこに行くんだ？
栃木の北の方、那須高原の近所だな。
栃木？
Koji can't believe his ears.
住所はこれだ。この建物を探してほしい。
Fuminori says, handing Koji a photo with an address on the back. He seriously expects to be driven over 100 kilometers and back. Koji doesn't know whether to be angry or impressed.
今から出発すれば夕方頃には着くだろう。
まあ、そうかもしれんが。
Koji sighs heavily, tapping the steering wheel as he calms himself down. Now that he's come this far, the only thing he can do is see his friend's craziness through to the end.
別荘か何かか、これは。
多分そこに大貝教授もいるらしい。
Koji isn't looking forward to meeting the owner of that creepy house, but he's even more uneasy about letting Fuminori go alone. It looks like he just has to grin and bear it.
東京に戻るのは夜中かもな。
悪いな、世話をかけて。
いいさ。
Koji drives out of the parking lot, leaving the rest of what he thought could say unspoken. Fuminori's smile seems wrong somehow, like a mask hiding his true face. Yoh finds herself sitting alone in the cafeteria, searching for a familiar face as her lunch cools on the table in front of her. She was hoping to see Koji today, but he must have had other plans. That wouldn't be all unusual. Normally Omi and Fuminori would pick up the slack. But Omi and Fuminori aren't here anymore. Yoh puts down her chopsticks, her appetite ruined by the lack of company and by the anxiety eating at her. Omi is missing, Fuminori has turned on her, and she has no idea why. If Koji were here, she could count on him to distract her with some idle conversation. Now that she's all by herself, Yoh becomes keenly aware of how little tolerance she has for loneliness. She begins to feel paranoid, like the whole world is plotting to take from her everything that she cherishes. What is going on here? Where is Omi gone? Is Fuminori really unrelated to her disappearance? Or is he the key to this mystery as Koji and Dr. Tombo suspect? Yoh recalls the events of last Thursday, alone and without an outlet for her pain, after Fuminori verbally eviscerated her. Yoh was lucky enough to run into Koji. Although he could hardly make her problem go away, his kindness was a comfort. At the same time, Omi was on her way to Fuminori's house, and she hasn't been heard from since. Yoh has only been aware of Fuminori's connection to Omi's disappearance since yesterday, when Koji revealed the truth during their visit to the hospital. What if a new possibility occurs to her, a reason for why Omi suddenly decided to visit Fuminori? What if it hadn't been a coincidence that Yoh ran into Koji that day? What if Koji and Omi had known what transpired between her and Fuminori and decided to act separately? Omi might have seen the confrontation in the courtyard. She might have been eavesdropping. It's not unthinkable. In fact, it's exactly what happened. As the idea forms in her mind, Yoh feels as though something is tearing apart her body from the inside. It's only a possibility, but if it's true, then whatever happened to Omi is Yoh's responsibility too, isn't it? Yoh clutches her head, groaning in agony. The food on her tray is now cold, not that she would have eaten it anyway. Despite her frustration and anxiety, Yoh is unable to act on her own. She has never been good at adapting to challenges, and no one would ever call her proactive. She hasn't the slightest idea how to respond to this situation. If Omi were here, she would probably tell Yoh to think positive and trust her instincts. Yoh has always depended on her best friend's energy. Now that Omi is gone, Yoh realizes just how weak and useless she is. She can only sink deeper and deeper into the abyss of self-loathing. The sudden ringing of her phone pulls her back from the brink of despair. It's a text message. There's no title and the sender is...
Omi-chan.
Yoh cries out in shock. The message itself is even more baffling. Oh no, this is not good. The message bears no trace of Omi's personality, but Yoh can't deny that it was sent from her phone. She takes a deep breath to calm herself before typing her reply, taking care that excitement doesn't cause her fingers to slip. Is that you, Omi? Where are you? Yoh presses send. The screen shows that her message was received. As she waits for a reply, her mind fills with questions. Is someone else using Omi's phone to send text messages? If so, why to her? Something suddenly occurs to her. She and Omi have exchanged countless messages over the years, many of which contain the sort of embarrassing confessions that close girlfriends share. At times when her feelings for Fuminori grew too strong to contain, Yoh often put them into words for Omi to read. Did Omi put a password on her phone? Even if she had, the person who sent the message was obviously able to unlock it, which means that whoever it is has full access to her history. Do you want to know about Sakisara Fuminori? Yoh reads the message. Strange message one more time. Whoever sent it must believe that Yoh has an interest in Fuminori. The phone rings again, startling Yoh, but she quickly recovers and looks at the screen. There's no title and the sender is still Takahiro. Wait. I'll tell you everything when we meet. Come alone. Tell no one. It's not Omi. She would never try to scare Yoh with such a mean-spirited prank. Anxiety has brought Yoh almost to tears. Her mind isn't made to deal with this. Who is using Omi's phone and promising to reveal Fuminori's secrets? Who? Yoh desperately wants advice from Koji, from anyone. He even starts to dial Koji's cell, but a sudden suspicion stops her. The sender might be somewhere nearby, watching her at this very moment. A cold chill runs down her spine as she looks furtively around the cafeteria. Come alone, tell no one. The lifeless characters on the screen are like a knife against her throat. However, Yoh clutches her phone and forces her heart to stop pounding. Isn't this cowardice exactly what she hates most about herself? Doesn't she want to know what she's capable of? Doesn't she want to do more than sit and wait? Yoh realizes that her hand is shaking. How easy it would be to just give in to her cowardice, to convince herself that Omi and Fuminori are beyond her reach. That is what she truly wants. Even if it means abandoning dignity and loyalty, she wants to flee from the unknown. But she also knows that even escape is beyond her. Yoh understands herself well. She knows that no matter how far she runs, regret and self-loathing will consume her after everything else has fallen apart. In the end, Yoh is unable to overcome her cowardice alone. She lacks both the willpower and courage to run. The afternoon silence is somehow foreboding. Forbidding. A stink is in the air, the stink of garbage left out to rot. Even this perfectly normal residential neighborhood seems ominous to Yoh in her current state. She's standing in the middle of a necropolis, as if everyone in the houses around her is dead. Yoh pushes her fear aside and presses the buzzer on the Sakisara house's front gate. Fuminori wasn't in class today. Is he home? He couldn't have sent those awful messages, could he? She doesn't even want to consider the possibility, so she forces the unwelcome thought from her mind. There's no response from the intercom. Yoh doesn't know, of course, that Omi stood in the same spot 1 week ago, staring at the silent intercom with the same confusion that Yoh is experiencing now. She, however, is not forced to wait as Omi was. The phone in her pocket rings, catching her off guard. It's another text message from Omi's phone. Come in, the door is open. Yoh looks around quickly, a shiver running through her as she realizes that she's being watched. Searching fearfully for her observer, Yoh spots movement out of the corner of her eye. On the second floor of the Sakisara house, a tightly drawn window curtain just fluttered. The person who sent this message is inside the house. Only now does Yoh realize that every other window has its storm shutters closed. No matter what happens inside, no one will ever know. This time she nearly gives in to the intense urge to flee. Yeah, okay, this does not bode well for Yoh at all. But the terror she feels towards her invisible watcher is stronger, and will not permit her to turn her back upon the open window. She has nowhere to run. Yoh bursts into tears, unable to take a single step. The phone in her hand rings again, demanding that she enter. She steps through the gate. When she enters the house, an overwhelming stench assaults her nostrils. The house is dark, even though it's in the middle of the day. Fuminori must be out, as his shoes are on the vestibule. However, Yoh catches sight of a different pair stuffed behind the shoe cupboard. They look familiar, so she pulls them out of the shadows for a closer look. As soon as she recognizes them, her mind tries desperately to deny reality. They're identical to Omi's favorite shoes. Yoh has seen her wearing them many times before, but this doesn't mean Omi is here, she tells herself. They might belong to someone else, someone who bought the same shoes from the same store. There's no way Omi could be here, is there? With a sudden flash of clarity, Yoh presses the most frequently used speed dial button on the phone in her tightly clenched fist. The phone dials Omi's number. It takes only a second for the signal to reach the nearest relay station, and then a familiar ringtone echoes through the house. It's coming from the second floor. Someone must still be up there in the room with the moving curtains. Omi's phone rings for just a few moments and then it stops, as whoever is holding it realizes Yoh's intentions. For the first time, Yoh feels the definite presence of her formless guide.
誰ですか?
She gathers her courage and calls out into the house, but there is no response. Whoever it is must not want to be seen. Swallowing hard, Yoh walks down the hallway to the staircase. Maybe it's Omi. Maybe it's Fuminori. Surely it's just the two of them playing a prank on her. Koji might even be here with them. Yoh's mind fills with comforting images of her friends. She needs to believe that there is still hope, otherwise she could not take another step.
おみちゃんだよね。咲坂くんだよね。
As she climbs the stairs one at a time, Yoh calls out in a voice choked with tears. When they see her sobbing, they'll probably laugh at her. Let them. It would be the happiest moment of her life. She just wants this torment to end. She tries to move faster, but her trembling legs will not let her. With each agonizing second that passes, she begs for relief from this nightmare. After climbing for what seems like an eternity, Yoh finds herself standing at the second floor hallway. No sound greets her. There is only the gloom, brimming with silent malice.
おみちゃん。おみちゃん。
She shuffles forward, calling out in a weak voice.
出てきてよ。お願いだよ。こんなのもう嫌だよ。
The door in front of her is half open. It must lead to the room that overlooks the front gate. Yoh watches hopelessly from a corner of her mind as her body, seeming to move on its own volition, slowly opens the door. The room is empty. The damp, stinking air clings to Yoh's skin. She is at her limit, unable to take a single step more. Her spirit has been utterly crushed. Perhaps this is the moment her tormentor was waiting for. Something grabs Yoh's arms from behind. Something flexible and strong like slime-covered rubber. As the thing binds her limbs, finger-like appendages tear roughly through her blouse and force their way inside. Okay, so... let me turn off voices just in case. Yoh screams at the top of her lungs, amazed that she still has the strength to do so. Responding to her distress, primal energy surges through her body as she flails wildly to free herself. However, the grip of the thing behind her remains unbreakable. With escape impossible, Yoh can only scream louder as something cold and wet slips under her bra and wraps itself around her breast. She is helpless to resist as the invader squeezes her breast and sucks at her nipples, which have gone stiff with fear under the horrifying onslaught. Her ears are filled with the sound of something slimy sliding over her skin. As the loathsome assault on her breast continues, the unimaginable terror threatens to drive Yoh utterly mad. Her throat is already raw from screaming, and now she can't even breathe as she struggles desperately against her attacker. Okay, never mind. I think we were good there. Suddenly, the thing releases its grip on her breast and pulls out from under her bra. Yoh falls to the floor, unable to support herself on her unresponsive legs. The creature that grabbed her is still there, lurking in a dark corner of the room. She can feel it watching her, but can't bring herself to turn around. She knows that seeing it will likely destroy the last vestiges of her sanity. From close by comes the beep of buttons being pressed. Yoh hears a cheerful electronic sound terribly out of place in the room, and sees the phone in her hand blink coolly. The new message has arrived. She is powerless to stop herself from reading the characters on the screen. You're pretty and your breasts are so big and soft. I bet they're good for attracting males. Damn, okay, Saya. Now she has her answer. The messages from Omi's phone were sent by the thing that just mauled her breasts. Yoh curls up into a tiny sobbing ball, unable to raise her voice or even move. The creature makes a burbling sound. Yoh somehow understands that it is laughing at her. That must be how you tempted Fuminori. You tried to steal him from me, didn't you, thief? Oh boy, I'm going to have to censor most of the screen here. And I'm going to have to also disable voices. Something cold seizes Yo's ankles and then travels slowly up her legs until it has covered her entire lower body. Some primal female instinct tells her exactly what is going to happen. She will be raped, powerless to resist a fate worse than death. Stop, she pleads feebly. Even though there is no hope that the inhuman creature will be merciful. Please, not that. He hears its burbling laughter again. The thing is enjoying her sorrow, her despair. Yoh no longer has the strength to resist the monster on top of her. She is only able to shiver in revulsion as the cold, slimy thing covers her body. Her sight grows dim as her mind sinks deeper and deeper into a black, swamp-like abyss. Her breasts are toyed with, her nipples are sucked on, and a weight pushes itself between her legs, but it all seems so far away. I won't kill you. Though her mind is now barely functioning, Yoh hears a voice whisper to her inside her head. It is a girl's voice, sweet and sinister, with the cruel innocence of a child gleefully plucking the wings from blood butterflies. Instead, I'll let you share in our happiness. Rejoice, Yoh. We'll love you to death. The soft voice is a stark contrast to the unyielding strength that drives irresistibly into Yoh's core. The pain is sharp and savage, greater than anything she has ever felt before. It should be unbearable, but there's no longer enough left of Yoh's mind to recognize it as pain. While she stares blankly at the thing slithering deeper and deeper into her body, an idle thought floats through her fading consciousness. I've still never been kissed, have I? Okay, I should be good to re-enable voices now. It has begun to snow by the time they passed Utsunomiya on the Tohoku Expressway.
下が雪道になってなきゃいいがな。
Koji says. In the passenger seat, Fuminori is gazing out of the frosted window in silence. He's been in this trance-like state for almost an hour now. Taking advantage of his inattention, Koji stares unabashedly at Fuminori from the corner of his eye. He still doesn't understand the danger signals that he's been getting from the man. Fuminori has stopped avoiding Koji, and he's even looking at him in the eye when he talks. So why does he seem even more distant now than he did when he was trying to push his friends away? Fuminori's posture is noticeably relaxed, but his gaze never wavers, not even for a moment. It's as though he is focused on a clearly defined future that he has chosen to bring about, one that has no place for the needs or wants of others. Right now, Fuminori is complete. Koji cannot help but feel that beneath his bland exterior is a core of solid steel that no one can touch.
近江だけどな。
Koji says, suddenly trying to gauge Fuminori's reaction.
いなくなって今日で1週間になる。まだ何の連絡もない。
そう。
Fuminori replies curtly, still staring into the distance.
心配だね。どうしたんだろう。
Fuminori's tone is completely emotionless. Koji might as well have asked him about the weather or the conditions of the mountain roads near their destination.
もう一度聞くが、お前何か思い当たる節はないか？
いや、全然。
Fuminori answers in exactly the same tone as he used when Koji first questioned him following Omi's disappearance.
まるで気にかけてないみたいだな。
Koji's eyes narrow.
そんなことないさ。
Finally, Fuminori shows some emotion. He sounds hurt, like he can't believe Koji would think such a thing.
彼女、僕の家に来る途中でいなくなったんだろう。もちろん僕だって心配だよ。
Suddenly, frustration wells up inside Koji. It's possible he'd like nothing more than to beat the secrets out of Fuminori's head. Koji is worried sick about Omi. To have his concern brushed off so coldly would be unbearable coming from a complete stranger. But from Fuminori, who was his best friend, it's... Fuminori never used to be this callous. Even if Koji tried to interrogate him, he'd probably never find out what changed him so. If Fuminori were still just hiding inside the shell he'd erected around himself after the accident, Koji might have been able to get some answers out of him. With this sly, evasive Fuminori, however, there's nothing Koji can do. Fuminori will never reveal his true intentions, not to anyone. All that's left then is for Koji to discover the truth on his own.
近江はな、筑波のことでお前に話があったんだ。
Fuminori smiles bitterly at the mention of Tsukuba's name, perhaps feeling sympathy to her pain. To Koji, however, it seems like pity. The sort one directs at an ant or a worm.
筑波さんか。参ったね。まあ、あんなことがあった後だからさ、最近声がかけづらくて。
Unbelievable. If Fuminori's feelings for Yoh were really this cold, then he would have rejected her when she first confessed to him. But he didn't, or at least the Fuminori before the accident didn't. Once again, Koji can't help but wonder if this man who looks like his friend is really a different person, who only possesses the memories of Sagisara Fuminori. The snow had stopped falling when they got off the West Nasu Flats interchange. This area must already be getting a lot of snow. However, as the nearby mountains are covered in white beneath the trees, by the time they turn off the highway and enter the mountains, road conditions are already bad enough for Koji to regret having forgotten the tire chains. Nevertheless, he continues to power his car up the precarious slopes with only a road map to guide him. In places like this, an address isn't enough to pinpoint a location. His only choice is to drive down every road, including private roads that aren't even on the map, while searching for something that matches the photograph.
本当にこんな場所に別荘なんてあるのか？
人目につかないところだからこそ、大貝教授は気に入ったはずなんだ。
The more he hears about Ogai, the less Koji wants to meet him. Fuminori is the one who spots the narrow road half hidden in the trees. It's practically an animal trail, overgrown with weeds that are tall and strong enough to withstand the weight of the snow.
これ、本当に道か？
Koji stops the car and shakes his head out the window to stare into the dark forest, but he doesn't see where the path leads through the tightly packed trees.
写真だとどう見える？
Fuminori hands Koji the photo, which he compares to the mountain ridges visible beyond the trees.
なるほどな。アングルは間違いない。
行ってみよ
Fuminori's tone is as flat as always, but there is a quiet intensity in his voice that leaves no room for argument. Although Koji is worried about his car's suspension won't be able to handle the terrain, there's no turning back now. He shifts into second gear and starts down the frozen road. The sun sets early at high altitudes. As the car creeps up the mountain path, Koji catches glimpses through the trees of the gradually darkening sky. The forest is completely still, with no sound save for the rumble of the car's engine and the crackle of snow and brush beneath its tires. Fuminori is once again staring silently through the front window. In the ominous silence, Koji feels the same faint chill that he felt when standing before Ogai's suburban home. It feels wrong, as though he's traveling deeper and deeper into a world not his own. After some time, a blocky shape suddenly appears amid the trees, standing out against the twilight sky. Koji turns off the engine and compares the structure in front of him to the picture in his hand. A perfect match. Before he can tell Fuminori, however, his friend is already out of the car.
Oi.
Realizing that it's pointless to call out to him, Koji shakes his head, grabs the flashlight from the glove compartment, and follows Fuminori across the snow-covered yard. The photo must not have been taken recently, as the old rundown cabin before them has clearly been left to the mercy of the elements for some time. The front door appears to be locked, but Fuminori kicks it down without a second thought. Koji just watches, knowing that nothing he could say now would matter. All the windows are shut with heavy curtains, and the gloom inside is thick and stifling. Fuminori turns on his own flashlight and starts rummaging through the cabin without regard for its owner's privacy. Koji is reluctant to do the same, but it's obvious that this mountain retreat has been abandoned for some time. Just like the house in Tokyo. There's no point in being considerate now. He goes to search a different realm. Soon after entering the cabin, however, he realizes that their search is meaningless. There's nothing inside but the bare necessities of life. Some rooms are even completely empty, save for a thick layer of dust on the floor. Of what few pieces of furniture are present, more than half appear to have never been used. There's an empty chest of drawers without a single scratch or handprint, but bearing the telltale signs of mold and moisture damage. The condition of the cabin is eerie, though in a different way than the filthiness of the house in the city. It's like someone put together a mock-up of the house and then left it to decay. The only signs that anyone lived here are found in the toilet, the bath, the kitchen, and the bedroom. It appears that the cabin was never used for anything but eating and sleeping. Beneath the darkened sky, the snow itself seems to glow with a cold white light. The scene is like something out of a fairy tale, but to Koji it serves only as an unpleasant reminder that he has stepped outside of a reality that he knows. Next to the front porch is a plain wooden door half buried in the ground. It's locked, of course, but Koji sees no reason for restraint after what Fuminori did to the front door. The door offers surprisingly little resistance as Koji's heavy kick breaks it open to reveal a set of concrete stairs leading down into a pitch-black basement. Koji would prefer to leave such a forbidding place to Fuminori, but it's not like he can just ask him to take his place. He descends into the chilly darkness, the beams of his flashlight leading the way. There turns out to be nothing in the basement but a storage room and a boiler. Exactly what one would expect to find in an isolated mountain cabin. The few packages of preserved food sitting on the shelves have long since passed their expiration dates, and the boiler doesn't appear to have been used in years. Koji guesses that Ogai's mountain home has been abandoned longer than the house in Tokyo. Was Fuminori simply mistaken when he said that Ogai might be here, or was he lying from the beginning? Not sure what to do next, Koji moves back up the stairs and walks around the outside of the cabin, and there he finds the backyard. It's in much worse condition than the front yard. Having been mostly reclaimed by the forest, it must have been neglected even when the cabin was still in use. The remnants of a woodshed lie in the yard, the mushrooms growing on it speaking to how much time has passed since its collapse. Next to the rotten logs, however, stands a circle of stone that has not yet succumbed to the elements. A well. The well has no bucket or pulley, and when Koji peers carefully into it, he sees that the water is no longer flowing. It's probably less than 10 meters deep, depending on how much mud is piled up inside. Koji's search of the cabin has revealed nothing of interest, inside or out. Leaning against the edge of the well, Koji wonders why Ogai bought this remote home deep in the mountains, and what he was doing here. As far as Koji can tell, there's no sign that more than one person ever stayed here. I feel like Fuminori brought Koji out here to off him, just get rid of him. He knows he's poking around too much and he just wants him out of the way. That's my assumption anyway. This well is really foreboding. I feel like he's going to be pushed into the well and be left there to die.
人目につかないところだからこそ。
Fuminori's words play back in Koji's head. Could this have been some sort of secret refuge? A place to remain hidden from the world? That would explain why there's nothing to suggest that whoever lived here did anything more than eat and sleep. Koji suddenly remembers the doctor he met yesterday at T University. Maybe she'd know something. He takes out his phone and calls the number. There's barely a signal, but he manages to get through. Koji's hopes are soon dashed, however, when his call goes straight to Dr. Tombo's voicemail. He considers calling back later, but realizes that it would be hard to talk to her with Fuminori around. Fuminori would not at all be pleased to learn that Koji and Yoh went to see his doctor. Koji decides that he'd better tell the doctor what he can while he's still alone.
どうも、殿浩二です。昨日はお世話になりました。
Koji leaves a clear and concise message explaining that he went with Fuminori to Ogai's mountain retreat, giving the address and asking for confirmation that the property belongs to Ogai.
東京に戻ったらまたこちらから連絡します。では。
After hanging up, Koji thinks back to their visit to the hospital. Is Dr. Tombo actually investigating like she said she would? Her reluctance to speak of Dr. Ogai is weighing on his mind. He talked to Yoh about it on the way home, but they were unable to decide whether the doctor could really be trusted. I assume what Saya does to Yoh Fuminori is in on? Like a plot to get rid of both of them? Speaking of which, how is Yoh doing? Koji hasn't seen her today. He didn't say a word to her about his trip to Tochigi. She might be worried, especially so soon after Omi's disappearance. Thinking to check up on her, Koji dials Yoh's number and is surprised when it rings longer than it usually does. Did she forget her phone somewhere? Just as he's about to give up, the call connects. The first thing Koji hears is a strange sound. It's not signal interference or but some kind of wet, distorted noise. Like the voiceless groans or perhaps sobs of someone far away. No, that's exactly what they were. The person on the other side is crying.
つくばなのか
There's a response, but is it really Tsukuba's voice? It's too twisted with agony for Koji to tell. Panic surges through Koji as he realizes that something is terribly wrong.
コーチだトローコーチだよつくばなのか今どこなんだ
After a short period of nothing but pained moans, words start coming through the speaker one by one as though each takes an act of will. Yoh must be delirious, because Koji can't understand a thing she's saying. Her gasps and wheezes, however, are enough to tell him that she's in unimaginable pain. Oh, so Saya has the ability to change humans' bodies, doesn't she? When she said she was going to bring Yoh into Saya and Fuminori's world, did she mean she's going to, like, actually turn her into a monster or something? She's not making any sense. Koji feels despair seize his heart in an iron grip. What is happening to Yoh now? 100 kilometers away? Only her voice gives any hint of what she's going through. There's nothing he can do for her. Yoh suddenly breaks into a violent hacking cough, as though trying to expel something filling her throat. Koji springs into the phone, his reason overwhelmed by unimaginable horror. Which is why he's unable to react when the phone is suddenly knocked from his hand, and also why he didn't notice Fuminori sneaking up on him until it was too late. Fuminori seizes Koji's lower jaw with his right hand, cutting off Koji's angry shout. Koji can hardly believe the strength of the smaller man's grip. His biggest mistake was leaning back against the well. There is nothing to grab onto as Fuminori pushes him backwards over the edge. He can only flail his arms vainly against the air. Koji soon loses his balance entirely. He feels a terrifying weightlessness as the world spins before his eyes. Before he can realize what has happened, his back strikes something with tremendous force. He thrashes wildly as cold, dirty water fills his mouth and freezes him to the core. Only when his fingers find the wall of the well is he able to regain a sense of direction and right himself. On his hands and knees in the mud, Koji vomits filthy water out of his lungs.
Fuminori.
He tries to shout, but it comes out as a hoarse groan, distorted by the echo in the cramped space. Fuminori's laughter, on the other hand, is as clear as a bell.
電話中に邪魔して悪かったね。ほら、返すよ。
He says scornfully. Fuminori tosses Koji's phone into the well. Koji catches it just before it hits him in the face, but finds that the battery pack has been removed, rendering it useless.
何のつもりだ、貴様。
This is no joke. It's a miracle that Koji is uninjured. He could easily have broken his neck. And just because he's not hurt doesn't mean he's safe. Koji feels around the inside of the well, searching for something to hold on to, but the mud-covered stone offers no purchase. It's obvious that he won't be able to get out without help.
落ちた拍子に死んでれば、まだ苦しまずに済んだろ。コウジ、君って本当に運がないんだね。
お前、おい、まさか。
Koji starts to say, but trails off as the pieces finally come together in his head. Today's sudden change in Fuminori's attitude, that smile that always seemed somehow malevolent. Fuminori hadn't been smiling at Koji, but at the thought of his friend's death.
どうして。
He can't wrap his head around this turn of events. Why would Fuminori try to kill him? Fuminori had wanted Koji to stay out of his business, but is that really a motive for murder?
別段今すぐ殺す必要なんてなかったんだけどね。もしかしたらお前は僕の邪魔をするようになるやつかもしれないし、せっかく人目につかないところまで出かけるんならついでにと思ってさ。
ついでにって、お前そんな理由で俺を。
お前死ぬのに理由が欲しいのか。
Fuminori replies coldly. He sounds truly amazed that Koji would ask such a thing.
何様のつもりだ、コウジ。人は何の理由もなく死ぬんだよ。僕の両親がそうだったし、僕も危うくそうなりかけた。
むちゃくちゃだ。
そんなに理由が欲しいなら一人でじっくり考えない。そこでなら時間はたっぷりあるだろう。
Fuminori disappears from view, leaving Koji alone in the darkness with nothing to connect him to the outside world.
ふみのり、おい、ふみのり。
Koji shouts at the top of his lungs, knowing beyond a doubt that if Fuminori leaves, all hope of rescue will vanish with him. No one will ever hear him calling for help from the bottom of this mountain well.
つくばが大変なんだ。おい、ふみのり、聞いてくれ。ここから出してくれ。
In his desperation, Koji no longer comprehends the futility of begging for mercy. No god or devil will answer him. His only hope is that Fuminori will have a change of heart. Praying for a miracle, he keeps calling Fuminori's name. Eventually, the sky grows as dark as the bottom of the well. Koji can no longer make out the edge of the opening, and he has long since lost track of how many hours he's been screaming. Nevertheless, he continues to scream, for he knows that the despair silence brings will kill him. I feel great. The same feeling that you get when the last piece of a difficult puzzle slides smoothly into place. I've killed a man, yet no one will ever know. You've actually killed multiple now, Fuminori. It is a long way back to civilization, but neither the cold nor the exhaustion can ruin my good mood as I walk down the snow-covered mountain road. I was tempted to use Koji's car, but that would have introduced a flaw into the plan. I don't want anyone to connect me to his disappearance. The plan formed in my mind the moment I realized how remote the location was. Even if I couldn't find anything to lead me to Dr. Ogai, his absence would at least prove that the cabin has been utterly abandoned, in which case it would be the perfect spot to take care of the problem. I knew coming all the way out to Tochigi wouldn't be a waste of time. I didn't even need to use the meat cleaver hidden under my jacket. A dry well, it's like fate itself provided me the perfect setting. That idiot didn't even realize the danger he was in, and his phone call distracted him enough for me to take him by surprise. Now, one of two people whose questions might have caused trouble for me and Saya have vanished from the face of the earth. All that's left is to eliminate the other. Koji and Yoh. I mustn't underestimate her just because she's less aggressive than Koji. Even she should be able to see a connection between the disappearances of her two friends. I suppose I should be thankful that it was Yoh to whom Koji was talking to on the phone. If he'd reported our location to a third party, I'd have to track down and eliminate that person too. So he doesn't know about the call to the hospital that he did before. I'm a little worried about what they were discussing, but judging by how Koji was screaming into the phone, they probably weren't exchanging detailed information. Either way, I'd better get rid of Yoh as soon as possible. Oh, so he's not in on what Saya was doing. After walking all night long, I reached the Nasu Flat station just as the train started running. It only takes an hour to get back to Tokyo on the Limited Express. It's not enough time to rest, but I'm too wound up for that to matter. Besides, I don't want to waste any time thinking up a way to kill Yoh. Using the cabin again would be too dangerous. I'm not sure how I'd get her out there in the first place. I just exploded in her face the other day. I doubt that she'd be as quick to trust me as Koji was, which means that it will be difficult to get her alone. I could ask Saya for her opinion, but even I have some pride. I want to show her that I'm a man who can take care of business. Unfortunately, I'm unable to come up with anything before I get home. I suppose I should just be proud of having dealt with Koji, the immediate threat. The search of Dr. Ogai's cabin was a bust, with no trace of him having been there, but I see no reason to be frustrated. Saya isn't all that concerned about the doctor's whereabouts, so looking for him is just something to satisfy my own curiosity.
Tadaima.
It's morning, half a day later than I normally get home, and the sound of Saya running down the stairs tells me just how impatient she was for my return. It makes me feel warm inside. Well, yeah, she has something fun to show you, Fuminori.
おかえり、ふみのり。
She throws her arms around my neck, her smile at least 20% brighter than usual.
遅くなってごめんな。いろいろ予定が変わったもんで。
ううん、私の方もも もうちょっとで準備が終わるとこ。
準備？
Saya responds to my confusion with a mischievous smile.
文則をね、びっくりさせる準備。
どういうこと？
まだ内緒。それより文則疲れてるでしょ。お腹空いてる？それともお風呂？
I don't realize how hungry I am until Saya mentions it. I walked all night without a bite to eat, and now my stomach's emptiness becomes painfully clear. However, I can't sit down to a leisurely meal while covered in the dirt and sweat of the road.
軽く何か口に入れて、それから風呂に入りたいな。温まるまでゆっくり。
そう言うと思って沸かしてあるよ、お風呂。一晩中外にいたんだもんね。寒かったでしょ。
ああ、そりゃもう。
I'm amazed by Saya's foresight. She's always ready to give me what I want before I want it.
ふーん、大変だったんだ。
While soaking in the bath together, I tell Saya about my adventure.
殺すのは思った以上に楽だったんだよ。ただ、帰り道がね。
The heat of the bath is soothing, as is the sensation of Saya leaning back against my chest as she massages the fatigue out of my stiff leg muscles. Her cute little collarbone rises every time she squeezes my legs, and I can see the soft curve at their breasts floating in the water. I'm home. Contentment fills me. I don't even need to sleep to relieve my exhaustion. Just like the living room and the bedroom, the bathroom is painted in the colors that Saya and I find pleasing. We've left the entrance and hallway untouched just in case someone should see inside, so these 3 rooms are the only places I can relax in my own house.
この季節でも山の寒さは尋常じゃないね。薄着で行ったのはつくづく失敗だった。夜中あたりは投資するんじゃないかってヒヤヒヤしたよ。
そのコージって人の服も取り上げて重ね着してくればよかったのに。
おいおい、コージは井戸に落としたんだってば。着てた服も井戸の底だよ。
ああ、そっか。
Saya laughs and sticks her tongue out bashfully.
で、あと心配なのがつくばよって女の人。
コージが消えたのと僕のことを結びつけて考えそうなのはそいつ一人だけだからね。彼女の始末が終わったらやっと安心できるんだが。
Saya glances at me over her shoulder like she knows something that I don't.
その人の殺し方、もう文則は考えてあるの？
それがまだなんだ。いろいろと考えたんだけどね。だからサヤの知恵も借りようかと思ってさ。
任せといて。
She says, grinning with unusual confidence.
さやはね、文則が想像もつかないような方法を知ってるよ。もう解決したも同然なんだから。
そうか。
さてと、もういい加減仕上がってる頃だし。
Saya's voice is full of anticipation. She rises from the bath, her naked body glistening through the steam.
でよ、文則。見てほしいものがあるんだ。目をつぶって。私がいいって言うまで開いちゃダメ。わかった？
うん。
I have no idea what's going on, but I do as Saya says and close my eyes. She takes my hand and leads me up the stairs. As I wonder what she has in store for me, the sound of crying reaches my ears. I stiffen.
さや、上に何かいるんじゃ。
目を開けちゃダメ。
She admonishes me, then strokes my arm soothingly.
危ないものじゃないから安心して。大丈夫。
ああ。
Little by little, the crying grows louder. I can hear the misery and pain in every choked sob. At first, I'm amazed that Saya would let someone in our house after what happened 2 days ago. But then I realize that something is strange. Isn't Saya the only one whose voice can carry such clear emotion to me? Although my eyes are still closed when Saya leads me into the bedroom, my ears tell me that there is someone only a few feet away, and yet I can smell none of the human body odor that normally turns my stomach.
さあ、ご対面。文則、目を開けて。
I open my eyes and I'm struck dumb by what I see. Tsukuba Yoh is curled up on the floor, with not a scrap of clothing to cover her shivering body. When I first lay eyes upon her naked flesh, I'm entranced by the sensuality of her generous proportions, far more mature than I would have expected from her usual pure and innocent appearance. Wait, forget about that. Why is she in my bedroom naked? Moreover, why is she...
どう文則、この子の体、どんな風に見える？
I might have to censor this, I'm just going to read over the dialogue myself. Well, how did she look to you?
綺麗だ。でも、なんで僕にもちゃんと。
She's beautiful, but why can I... It doesn't make sense. This is the Tsukuba Yoh I remember, not the putrid creature whose attentions I found so unbearable after the accident. My senses recognize her as the human that she was.
この子ね、文則のことが好きだったんだって。
This girl loves you, you know. I do know, but I've never told Saya. How did she find out?
だから私、この子の体を作り変えてあげたの。ちゃんと文則にも可愛がってもらえるような姿に。
So I decided to change her body into one that you can love back. Saya pauses to gauge my reaction, then continues with a satisfied nod.
私の同類にしてあげたの。
I made her like me.
どうして？どうやって？
What? How? I still don't understand why Saya chose Yoh, but this last statement is even more baffling. He changed Yoh?
ねえ文則、おとといも言ったでしょ？私には他の生き物の体に細工ができるんだって。
Don't you remember what I said the other day? I can mold the bodies of other living things. Yes, I remember. She claimed to have done something to Suzumi's brain. I didn't doubt her sincerity then, but I suppose that some part of me thought she was exaggerating. I hadn't seen her handiwork firsthand. But now...
隣のおじさんにしたような小細工じゃなくて、今回のは大掛かりな変換だったけど、でもこれが私の能力の本当の使い方なんだよ。
It was a big change this time, not like the little tweak I made to the man next door. But this is how my abilities were really meant to be used. 1 second, I'll be right back. Alright, I am back. Let's continue.
実際にやってみたのはこれが初めてなんだけど。
This was my first time doing it, though.
これが本当によ。
Is this really Yoh? Yoh finally noticed my presence and turns her head to face me. I see a faint glimmer of recognition in her glassy, unfocused eyes. Her features are exactly as I remember them. Incredible. This is far beyond cosmetic surgery. Once a twisted creature unrecognizable as human, Yoh is now the very image of human femininity. There is no similarity between what she was and what she is, which can only mean that she has become something utterly inhuman. According to Saya, she has become what Saya is.
人か人目の生態構造についてはね、さやはもうこの星で一番のエキスパートなの。いっぱい勉強したから
Saya
ね。
declares, her voice full of pride for her first creation.
勉強って何を誰から学んだんだ？いつどうやって？
Sorry, I had to throw out a naughty kin. He couldn't have learned it from Dr. Ogai. No teacher on Earth could impart such knowledge or skill.
だって毎日海苔の注ぎ込んでもらったじゃない、私の中に。
Saya blushes.
あれ、要は人間っていう生き物の設計図みたいなものだから、私にはそれを読み解くことができるの。好きなようにいじることもね。
What is she really? I've accepted that she is a human, but there's more to her than that. Saya is something that far transcends my species.
でもね、やっぱり最初だったもんだから手際よくできなくって。
When Saya approaches, Yoh trembles and tries to crawl away, but is only able to flail her arms and legs wildly. It's like she doesn't know how to move her own body. And the only sounds coming out of her mouth are frightened moans.
喋れないのか？
うん、あいにく心の方は壊れちゃったみたい。
Saya sighs in mild disappointment.
なんだかんだで返信が終わるまでに20時間もかかっちゃったから、ちょっとかわいそうなことしちゃったかな。かなり苦しかっただろうし。
Yoh looks up at me pleadingly as though begging me to save her. He is no longer able to ask me for help, though, or even call my name.
で、どう？気に入ってくれた？
Well, Saya asks, her eyes shining with anticipation. Do you like her? I'm at a loss for how to respond.
どうって？
What do you mean, like her?
だってふみのり、友達や家族が欲しいって言ってたでしょ。だからこれは
You said you wanted family and friends, didn't you? That's why I got you this present. Her innocent explanation only confuses me further.
プレゼントって。おいおい、子犬か何かじゃあるまいし。
Present? Come on, she's not a dog.
似たようなもんだよ。どうせ頭の中なんて真っ白なんだから。
There's not much difference. Her head is totally empty. I'm happy that Saya wants to please me, but she could use a little more common sense.
いや、人間一人を監禁し続けるっていうのは、多分かなり厄介なもんだと思うよ。
It's not that. Holding a person captive is probably a lot harder than you think.
大丈夫だよ。ほら、こうやって鎖でつないであるし。
Don't worry about it. Look, I have her chained up. The only thing preventing Yoh from being totally naked is the leather collar around her neck. I have no idea where Saya got it from, but it's the kind of dog collar that would probably be sold in any pet store. The chrome chain is fastened to one of the bedposts. Yoh tries to get away again, but Saya sends her sprawling with a tug of the chain. Yoh tumbles to the floor, squealing in pain. Her actions are those of an unintelligent animal, just as Saya said.
それにこの子、どっちみち逃げ出して何かしようとか、そういう難しいことはもうできないから。ね？これでもうふみのりが心配することなんてないでしょ。
Saya has a point. I was racking my brain for a plan to kill Yoh, but now my problem has been solved in a way I never could have imagined. As a normal person looks upon her now, they'll probably see no trace of the old Yoh. And if she has no memories and can't even speak, then it's perfect. Saya has killed Yoh without taking her life. But there's still the problem of what she means by giving Yoh to me.
嬉しくない？
I asked dejectedly, her confidence suddenly gone.
私また何か勘違いしてた？文則のこと困らせちゃった？
いや、
この子の世話はちゃんと私が一人でやるよ。文則にめんどくさい思いなんてさせないよ。それでもダメ？
That's not it. The last thing I want is to reject this symbol of Saya's affection. But how can I explain to Saya why I'm trying not to look at the naked woman writhing on the floor?
そういうことじゃない。違うんだ。
It's not that. Yoh is the first human figure besides Saya that I've seen in the 3 months since the accident. And she is a woman. A woman positively glowing with voluptuous feminine beauty. Of course I'm happy, but I also can't ignore the voice of reason that's telling me not to be.
嬉しいよ。嬉しいんだけど、素直に喜んでいいのかどうか。さやのことを思うとさ。
I'm happy, really, but if I show how pleased I am, I'm worried that you'll...
え？
Huh? Saya looks puzzled as though she has absolutely no idea what I'm getting at.
いや、だってほら、この子だって女の子だからさ。
I mean, look, he's still a girl, right?
僕がさやの他に別の女の子と一緒に暮らすっていうのは嫌じゃないのか？
Don't you all get the idea of me living with another girl? After considering this briefly, Saya finally seems to understand what I'm trying to say.
そんな文則って考えすぎだよ。
Maybe I am worrying too much. Although I'm pretty sure that I'm just showing the consideration that any man who's sworn his love to a woman would show. Maybe Saya doesn't understand that a man faced with a woman's naked body can't help but react regardless of his feelings.
おかしい。本当に優しいんだね、文則って。
そうか。
この子はね、文則のこと喜ばすためだけにさやが用意したの。文則がこの子のこと好きになって、この子と過ごすのを楽しいって思うようになってくれたら、それだけさやも嬉しいんだよ。それ遠慮するようなことじゃないよ。
こう言っちゃなんだが。
I struggle to find the right words to express my feelings.
男ってそのものすごく下劣な生き物だから。ほら、ヨウの体ってサヤの裸とはまた全然違う特徴があるだろう。これってサヤのこと好きだって思う気持ちとは全然別のところで、そのかなり気をそそられるってのが。
With each word that I squeeze from my lips, Saya's grin grows whiter and whiter until finally she starts shaking with laughter.
わかるわかる。文則は男の子だからそれでいいの。正常な本能だよ。
Saya exclaims jovially, patting my shoulder with one hand and wiping tears from her eyes with the other.
じゃあさ、この子を可愛がるときはさやも一緒に混ぜてよ。さやの体だけじゃできないような遊び方、みんなで楽しもうよ。ね？
いいのか？
I ask again, as though trying to force her to say no. Saya answers me with a smile whose like I have never seen before. It is calm, so terrifyingly calm. So terribly calm, and there's something bewitching about the soft set of her lips that sets it apart from her usual bright, childish expression.
文則とさやは恋人同士で、筑波陽はそんな二人のペット。この子は私と文則に可愛がられるたびにそのことを思い出すの。これから毎日ずーっとね。
God damn, Saya. I finally know why Saya chose Yoh, for the venom in her voice and smile does not escape me. Although she can no longer answer if asked, Yoh would surely have chosen death over this fate, and that is the very reason Saya visited it upon her. How wicked and terrible Saya is. Perhaps others would fear and loathe her. I, however, find her malevolence irresistibly charming. The horrifying cruelty of what she's done to Yoh is so very human. Though her shape may be different, her soul is the same as ours. When I look upon Yoh's wretched form, I see the intensity and passion of Saya's love for me. For the flames that have consumed Yoh are fueled by that very love. I find myself enthusiastically accepting Saya's present.
さやは気に入ってるのかい、このペットのこと。
うん、とっても綺麗で触り心地もいいんだよ。
そっか。じゃあ二人でこいつと遊ぶ時もさやはさやで楽しめるんだね。僕が遠慮することはないね。
もちろん。
Grinning happily, Saya grabs the chain and pulls Yoh to her feet.
ねえ文則、触ってごらんよ。柔らかくて気持ちいいよ。
Okay, let me disable voices really quick. Okay. As Yoh looks up at me with teary, pleading eyes, I approach and let my gaze roam freely over her lush body and white breasts. I run my fingers through her hair, finding it as smooth as Saya's. Enjoying the feel, I continue to caress Yoh's head. Her tearful expression softens a little. Perhaps she remembers me in some part of her mind, and believes even now that I will be kind to her. How foolish. I keep stroking her hair and calmly seize both of her breasts. She flinches in pain at the sudden rough treatment, but I ignore her and continue to knead her breasts as my lust demands. They're incredibly soft when I squeeze them. It's like my fingers are being sucked inside. I can't get this feeling from Saya's tight, slender body, and besides, I would never think of treating her delicate frame so harshly. Yoh, however... I grab her full breasts from underneath and squeeze them like tubes of toothpaste, and then give her nipples a little tweak. Okay, that whine actually almost got me to laugh. That was funny. Yoh squeals, unable to handle the pain. Even a little force can be painful when applied to a sensitive area. I'm being more than a little forceful. I pinch her nipples between my thumbs and index fingers and twist hard, listening as Yoh's screams get louder as she gasps for air. Having my way with a woman is more fun than I thought. Fuminori, Saya says from the sidelines. It looks like you're all ready to go. He's right, my lust is already straining against my slacks, trying to burst free. Which do you prefer? A soft, curvy body like hers? Or one like mine? As far as bodies go, probably this one. That makes me a little jealous, Saya complains, pouting adorably. You're the one who said you didn't mind. Come on, join in. Yeah, let me play with her. Saya presses up against Yoh's back and grabs her breast from behind. Following my lead, she wriggles her fingers against Yoh's breast, taking full advantage of their softness. Aha, this never gets old. The tears in Yoh's eyes and the sight of her breast changing shape under Saya's hands cause a new sadistic desire to well up within me. Alright, let's try this. I pull off my slacks and put the tip of my hard manhood against Yoh's breast, then begin sliding it into the space between them. Bring them close together. Okay, like this. Understanding what I want, Saya squeezes Yoh's breast around my shaft. The sensation is astounding. As Saya uses Yoh's breast to press me from the outside, I plow through the center with my penis. Does it feel good? Yeah, it sure does. The softness and warmth of Yoh's breast is different than that of Saya's vagina. I heretofore unknown pleasure that is swiftly driving me to climax. With each stroke, she cries out in fear as the stiff head of my penis stabs her in the face like a dark red weapon. Sorry, that almost made me laugh again. Saya, harder. Like this? Yoh jerks in agony as Saya crushes her breasts against my manhood. Her convulsions combine with the sensation of Saya's hands coming through the softness of her breasts, and the feeling of being serviced by both of them at once brings my pleasure to the breaking point. My lust erupts right in Yoh's face. The sudden explosion covers her entire face with my hot seed. Yoh shakes her head violently, trying in vain to escape from the sticky goo dripping from her eyelids and nose. Wow, that's a lot, Saya says, staring at Yoh's face with a mixture of awe and envy. Then Saya grabs Yoh's head, pulls it close to her, and starts lapping my seed off of Yoh's face, like it is the most wonderful thing in the world. All of this belongs to me. Even as Saya tries to lick it all off, some of it drips into Yoh's mouth, causing her to choke as it runs down her throat. Hey, stop that, you can't have any. Saya desperately presses her lips against Yoh's and thrusts her tongue into Yoh's mouth, sucking up all of the semen inside. When she finally pulls away with a wet sound, a sensual strand of saliva and other fluids connects them briefly. You don't get to have any, Saya says with satisfaction as she swallows my sperm. It's all mine. Yoh looks on Saya's bewitching smile with fear-clouded eyes. She obviously has no idea what's going on. The sight of these two women passionately exchanging fluids fills my loins with hot lust once again. Yoh's breasts aren't enough. Saya went through the trouble of giving me this present, so I better take full advantage of it. Abandoning Yoh's breasts, which are red and inflamed with the friction of Saya's fingers in my penis, I run my hand down her stomach and slide my fingers between her legs. As I touch her most sensitive place, her entire body stiffens as though hit with an electric shock. My fingers feel the unmistakable honey steeping from her inner folds. Despite what has been done to her, this woman is wet. This realization purges my mind of any remaining respect for Tsukuba Yoh, replacing it with the affection one has for a pet. Ignoring her cries of pain, I push Yoh to the floor and lift her leg into the air. I raise her leg until it's almost perpendicular to the floor, giving me a good view of her vagina. Yoh probably can't feel any shame anymore, but she does seem to understand how vulnerable she is in this position. Okay, sorry, I am back. She tries to get away from me, panting like a hunted animal. While holding her firmly in place, I get on my knees and straddle her right thigh, then poke my manhood against the dripping entrance to her womb. She screams when I make contact with her sensitive mucous membranes. Okay, this has a lot of funny quotes in it. I get it's trying to be serious, but this is not. Sensitive mucous membranes? Her tunnel still isn't wet enough to accept me without difficulty, but that doesn't matter. My shaft is more than hard enough to force its way in. After enjoying Yoh's panicked reaction to the imminent threat of pain, I thrust myself into the hilt. She must not have been sufficiently prepared, as her choked scream is like that of a dying animal. In fact, it reminds me of how Suzumi screamed when I stabbed him with my knife. Yoh struggles to escape from the object invading her. But with me sitting on her right leg and her left leg in the air, she can't move her lower body at all. No matter how hard she flails her arms and twists her torso, she can't escape from me. Powerless to resist, she can only ride out each brutal thrust of my hips. Looks painful, Saya says, peering curiously at Yoh's tear-streaked face. The sensation of Yoh's inner walls is completely different from Saya's. Despite her immature appearance, Saya's vagina is surprisingly soft and flexible, always sucking me in like a hungry serpent. Yoh's, on the other hand, is clearly unaccustomed to intrusion. It's still hard and tight and isn't producing enough lubricant to match the speed of my thrusts. That said, such strong resistance can only be a source of pleasure for the one exploring undiscovered territory. Is she pleasing you? You could say that. Her vagina alone isn't as satisfying as Saya's, but the rest of her voluptuous body offers different riches to plunder. The hypnotic quivering of her thighs as she trembles beneath me, the sight of her breasts heaving like storm-tossed ships. These sights and sensations are enough to stimulate my basest to lusts. I'll join in too. Saya straddles Yoh's side, pressing her clitoris against Yoh's hip bone. Saya gasps in pleasure as the tremors caused by my ravaging of Yoh's insides are transmitted into her body. How cute, Saya murmurs dreamily, rubbing Yoh's breast with her left hand. She's so adorable. Yoh's moans start to become more rhythmical and passionate. She must be beginning to find my movements pleasurable as her insides are now wet enough for me to slide through easily. Fuminori, Saya calls out to me in a breathless voice as she pleasures herself on Yoh's body. When you're about to come, she doesn't need a finish to make her desire clear. Yeah, I know, don't worry. Saya shamelessly slides her slender waist between me and Yoh, the glistening dew dripping from her groin, speaking to her readiness. Reaching to the finish, I pick up the pace of my thrust. Once again, Yoh is forced to gasp for breath. Saya, I'm... Okay, come Fuminori. The blazing hot orgasmic fire races down my spine. Having reached the moment of truth, I release my grip on Yoh and push her away, then seize Saya's buttocks with both hands. Sorry, the term buttocks really got me there. Fuminori. Responding to her cry of anticipation, I pull her to me and drive my exploding penis into her soaking hot core. I accepts my raging manhood, screaming in both pain and ecstasy. Surrounded by the familiar hot and soft embrace of Saya's body, I fill her with my seed. The seed of my lust that she so desperately desires. Saya convulses and collapses into my chest, smiling contentedly as she surrenders herself to the fire, filling her womb. Still breathing hard after my ravaging of her body, Yoh gazes at us with dazed, uncomprehending eyes. We're all atop each other, smelling of sweat and sex. We savor for a while the calm left in the aftermath of our orgy. Later, as I lie on my bed drained of energy, I consider what my life will be like from now on. Saya is resting my arms, Yoh is curled up on the floor. Yesterday, I could not have imagined that the three of us would be a family. That's fucked up, Fuminori. That is so fucked up. A new home, a new food, a new family, all granted to me by Saya. He has selflessly led me to the brink of death to show new joy amid despair. I too have changed. I have killed 2 people with my own hands and made a third my mindless slave. Yet despite all that I have done, I'm still able to sleep peacefully. Without a doubt, I am no longer the Sakisara Fuminori I once was. How far will Saya take me? What will I become? I feel somewhat unsure, though not discouraged, about the unknown world into which we are heading. And so, while playing with Saya's hair, I asked,
君は一体何者なんだい？
I don't expect an answer. If Saya is asleep or doesn't want to respond, I won't mind. Saya lifts her head, however, and draws my gaze into the deep pools of her eyes.
うまく言葉では説明しにくいんだけどね。
She thinks for a while, searching for the right words, then says simply,
タンポポって花があるよね。種を風に乗せて飛ばすやつ。
うん。
綿毛の種は風に運ばれて、ふるさとから遠く遠く離れて、もしかしたら草木なんか一本も生えてない砂漠に落ちちゃうかもしれない。そんな時、たった一粒のその種が何を思うか。
if you can imagine how that lonely seed will feel. Just saying because I think the censor bar might cover that.
それを想像してくれれば分かってもらえるかもしれない。私のこと。
Then you might be able to understand me. As I consider Saya's answer, she continues her story.
種はもちろん草の種だからね。その気になって頑張れば砂漠を砂漠じゃなくしてしまえる。ただ一粒だけの種でももしかしたら頑張ろうって思うようになるかもしれない。頑張って育って増えて、いつかこの土地が一面のタンポポ畑になるまで頑張ろうってそう思うかもしれない。そんな風にタンポポの種が心を決めるとしたらどんな時だと思う？
それは
I whisper entranced. Saya smiles softly and caresses my cheek.
それはね、その砂漠にたった一人だけでも花を愛してくれる人がいるって知った時、
You know I was going to say love.
タンポポの花は綺麗だねって種に話しかけてくれた時、
The loving touch of her slender fingers fills me with peace and joy.
あなたのこと大好き。
I pull her into my chest, nodding silently.
ずっとそばにいて。いつまでも私の隣に。
ああ、もちろん。
Basking in the soft warmth of our love for each other, we sink into the oblivion of sleep. Alright, and that's where I'm gonna save here. And that's where we're gonna leave it off. Well, this episode sure was fucked up. We'll continue off next time and I think finish the story. But until then, that's where we're gonna leave it off for today. So, if you made it this far, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time when we hopefully finish off Saya no Ura. Until then, bye!